You guys smell that? Something's cooking. Is that alt season? Well, right now we got Bitcoin finally breaking back above $70,000. I'm not sure if it's going to be sustained, and we could come back down below $70,000 before breaking out, probably more significantly tomorrow. Today is Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day, by the way. And tomorrow the actual market is going to be open again, and that means that these ETFs can see some inflows. I kind of expected that we were going to be more down or sideways today, but we have had about a 2% pump already. And getting back over $70,000 is pretty psychologically important, but we still have a little bit of resistance above us, and whenever we can break above about $74,000, I think that's going to be when we start heading back off to the races. As you know, Ethereum did finally get some ETFs approved, and it does look like it's trying to break above its previous high from a couple of weeks ago and try to make a new one. It's not the all-time high, though, because as you can see, the previous all-time high is still at about $4,860. So if we can break above this previous high from a few weeks ago, then I think hopefully it's going to be headed back to the all-time high. And as these financial institutions and money managers and such start doing their due diligence and offering these ETFs to their customers, I think we're going to be seeing some pretty dramatic inflows, and this could actually spark off the beginning of alt season. Here we have the chart for the Bitcoin dominance. It's the weekly chart, and as you can see, it does have this big bearish divergence here for the RSI, with the RSI making these lower highs and the price making higher highs. And this also looks like it's a possible rising wedge, and if we break down right now, then that could give us a price target, or not a price target, but a percentage target of just under 50%. And I think that's going to have a lot of people talking if the dominance does go back below 50%. And this is the kind of stuff that people look for the beginning of altcoin season. Not to mention, we're probably around halfway through this bull market, so altcoin season is probably going to be coming up pretty soon, which is obviously going to cause the dominance to fall. According to this article on Bitcoin.com, the deadline is looming for Biden to veto that congressional overturn of the SEC's crypto rules. The resolution to overturn the U.S. SEC's controversial Staffing Accounting Bulletin 121, or SAB 121, has recently passed the House of Representatives and the Senate, and is now awaiting President Biden's decision on whether to veto it. He did previously threaten to veto it, but he didn't do it immediately when it did pass the Senate, so hopefully he's just not going to do anything about it. It says the resolution for SAB 121 is now on his desk, and the 10-day window ends on June 3rd, meaning that he only has until then to veto Congress's decision. He could also choose to do nothing, though, and let the 10 days lapse without signing or vetoing the joint resolution, and as long as Congress is in session, which it should be that day, then the president's inaction will mean that the bill is effectively signed into law. I'll be kind of surprised if he does veto it, even though he did threaten to do so. And we might actually be seeing him do an about-face on his crypto stance, because it looks like he's been getting a lot of heat for it. According to this article on CoinDesk, Trump has now pledged to free the Silk Road creator Ross Ulbright if he's reelected. He says, "If you vote for me on day one, I will commute the sentence of Ross Ulbright to a sentence of time served." Trump said this during his Saturday night remarks at the Libertarian National Convention in Washington, D.C. He says he's already served 11 years and we're going to get him home. Hours before those remarks, he also took to his social media platform to praise the crypto industry, writing this on Truth Social. He says, "I'm very positive and open-minded to cryptocurrency companies and all things related to this new and burgeoning industry. Our country must be the leader in the field. There's no second place." He added that President Joe Biden wants to kill the cryptocurrency industry and cause it to die a slow and painful death. "That will never happen with me," he says. And then when he pledged to free Ross Ulbright, he was met with raucous cheers from the assembled audience. If you didn't know, in 2015, Ulbright was sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms plus 40 years, effectively life in prison without the possibility of parole, for creating and operating Silk Road. Silk Road was actually just a website that he created so that anybody could sell anything, basically, and people obviously took to it to sell things like drugs and things like that. So the government charged him for selling these drugs, even though he really just made the website, and it doesn't really make any sense because It's basically like charging somebody who builds a road for someone robbing a bank and using that road as a getaway. Just building some infrastructure doesn't make you responsible for the crimes that take place within that infrastructure, and really the government shouldn't have any say in what you put in your own body anyhow. I think that the sentence that Ross Ulbright received was actually a catastrophic misjustice, and in my opinion it was just used to send a message to people who are trying to regain their freedoms, and to tell people that even if you don't agree with the law, or even if it goes against your basic rights as a human being, then you better comply, or else Big Brother is always watching and they're gonna get you. That and the government got a whole bunch of Bitcoin, so they're one of the biggest holders of Bitcoin if you didn't actually know. Anyway, the huge amount of support that Trump has gotten due to his announcements of his support for cryptocurrency and that he would release Ross Ulbright from prison is a real great indicator that this is going to be a hot button issue here in the election coming up in November. For this reason, we might actually see Biden maybe do an about face, or at least cool his hatred towards cryptocurrency, or maybe at least stop listening to Elizabeth Warren, because we all know that she's the real one going after it. Biden doesn't know jack shit about cryptocurrency. I'm sure he's just doing what Elizabeth Warren says, but it hasn't been getting her any approval points either, and she also has somebody standing up against her who's pro-cryptocurrency and trying to take her position in the coming up election. Hopefully we're going to continue seeing this kind of pressure mounting, and this is going to put the Democrats in a position where they're going to have to reconsider their stances against cryptocurrency, and hopefully we're going to be seeing a bipartisan agreement that cryptocurrency is here to stay, and that America needs to be leading the way when it comes to adopting this technology. As I previously mentioned, we do have the new spot Ethereum ETF, and this is probably going to cause a lot of money to continue flooding into the crypto space. But it might not just be Ethereum that's going to be the last one getting an ETF in this bull run. There's now speculation that Solana could be the next one to receive an ETF. According to this article on Coinpedia, BKCM CEO Brian Kelly, BKCM being a digital asset fund that nobody's actually heard about, recently predicted on CNBC's Fast Money that Solana could be the next cryptocurrency with a spot exchange traded fund, or ETF, in the United States. Kelly said that Solana is ranking alongside Bitcoin and Ethereum as one of the leading cryptocurrencies for this market cycle, but his bold prediction immediately faced some pushback from industry experts, citing several significant regulatory and market challenges. First and foremost, the SEC has classified Solana as a security. Well, for one thing, it being a security doesn't mean that it can't have an ETF. There's all kinds of securities that have ETFs. Most stocks are securities. In my opinion, that doesn't mean that it can't get an ETF, but it does go on to say it complicates the pathway to approval. That may be true, but it definitely doesn't mean that it can't happen, and a lot of people were expecting that Ethereum wouldn't be approved, myself included, but it actually was. I just figured it was going to take a little while longer and we might not get it approved until next year, but it looks like the SEC kind of has their hands tied right now, and that means that we could be seeing more approvals coming up in the pipeline. It says ETF analyst James Seyffart of Bloomberg Intelligence added that the crypto requires a Solana futures product listed on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange or a robust cryptocurrency regulatory framework from Congress before any spot ETF. This may be true, and while we might not be getting a spot ETF for Solana in this bull market, we could get a futures product, and I think that alone would be enough to send the price of Solana skyrocketing. As I said before, though, I think we're going into alt season, and it could be led by Ethereum, and whenever those gas fees start to go through the roof, you know people are going to be looking for cheaper ecosystems to use, and I think Solana is going to be a great option, so it could definitely do well even if it doesn't get an ETF. What I think is very interesting, though, and what I have actually mentioned in the past, is not everyone agrees with Kelly's prediction, as it says here. Adam Cochran, a partner at Cinnamon Adam Cochran, a partner at Cinnamon Ventures, believes that Litecoin or Dogecoin might actually be the next cryptocurrencies to get ETF approval due to their simpler regulatory profiles. Both Litecoin and Dogecoin operate on a proof-of-work consensus mechanism similar to Bitcoin, which may make their regulatory pathways less contentious. I have mentioned this in the past, and the SEC's Gary Gensler has mentioned that Ethereum could have been classified as a security due to its being a proof of stake, and with Bitcoin being approved for an ETF, and with Dogecoin's code being modeled off of Bitcoin's code, I think Dogecoin really could be a great option for a contender in the next coming up ETF approvals. A lot of people still think that Dogecoin is a joke, but if it actually gets an ETF through BlackRock, then I think people are going to have to show it some respect. And between that and it being possibly accepted for Tesla vehicles and added to X payments, and the Doge 1 mission to the moon coming up, I think there's a lot of catalysts coming up pretty soon, hopefully, that could actually send Dogecoin skyrocketing upward, even though a lot of people have already given up on it. Speaking of Dogecoin, you probably already heard, but I've got some bad news, and this is actually why I didn't make a video on Friday. I knew there was going to be a lot of people making Dogecoin videos talking about how Kabosu, the original dog from the Dogecoin meme, has actually passed away, and I didn't want people to see me as trying to profit or try to get a bunch of viewers or likes or clicks because of the unfortunate passing away of the mascot. Like I said, there's going to be a whole bunch of people that were making videos on Friday about this news, and I guess they pretty much had it covered. I didn't need to make a video anyway. And in my opinion, it's really just not appropriate to make something like this about the Dogecoin community. This is about this dog who's made a lot of people happy and the owner who's unfortunately having to endure a great loss right now. It is relevant, though, to the Dogecoin community, so I did have to report on it. And I do want to take this time to say, rest in peace, Kabosu, you will be missed. I'm sorry to end the video on such a sad note, but Kabosu will be remembered, and she will live on forever in the hearts of memers all across the internet. So don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if I brought you value, but most importantly, don't forget to do only good every day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.